What's up, nerds? Gozmaster here, aka G to the 3, with another Magic the Gathering puzzle quest. Today's quest, we're going to do rares from the Magic the Core set 2021 that's coming out here. So if you missed my previous video, it should be linked somewhere here. You can go check it out. I'll have a link to where you can go see all of the spoilers for the cards. You can see all the cards that are coming up. But today we're covering rares, man. The more I looked at it, my top cards so far have been Fiery Emancipation and the Nightmare Adept, the Chainer guy. He's pretty cool. So Alpine Houndmaster, he's a 9 casting cost. He's a white red creature 4/4 with bravery, human warrior. When this creature enters the battlefield, fetch the first 2 different dog creature cards from your library. They're changing all hounds and some other doggo of critters to be actually considered dogs, so they'll count as well. When this creature attacks, this creature and your dog creatures get +2/+0 until end of turn for each of the reinforcements. Okay, 9 for a 4/4 is pretty decent. Bravery basically gets repositioned, and yeah, I mean, if you want to go run some dog tribal, this will help you get that done. Neat. Anji's Ravager. So this is a 13 creature, casting cost creature, 5/5. It's got Berserk and Bravery, Vampire Berserker, Madness 2, so you discard a card. It helps you to cast this card. When this creature attacks, discard all cards without mana from your hand, then draw 3 cards. I wonder how Madness is going to work with Song of Creation. I wonder if that works. If you discard your own cards, that counts as well. When this creature attacks, discard all your cards without mana from your hand, then draw 3 cards. So this would help to cast some of your other Madness cards. That's pretty interesting. Madness is going to have some synergy. It'll be interesting to see. I haven't seen a lot of Madness cards, maybe 2 or 3 of them, so okay. I'd rate this, as Vampire Tribal. It might help. 13 for a 5/5 is not bad. That's pretty decent. It's red. Arc Fiend of Spite, 25. Ain't nobody paying 25 for 8/8 flying creature. Demon, Madness 4. That's probably where the deal is once it's on the board. Enrage, so if it takes damage, your opponent loses X creature reinforcements. If they can't, they lose X life. X is the damage dealt that way. So if he takes 4 points of damage, then he's enraged to 4 points of damage, and it does 4 points, 4 reinforcements, or 4 points of damage to the opponent. Okay. I could see this in a Reanimator deck, but for Reanimator, since you only have 3 creature slots, I'd rather be using something like Enters Battlefield effect, so I don't know. I don't think this would be something I'd be chasing after. Backdraft Hellkite. Alright, this is 15 for a 6/6 flying. That's okay. It's a dragon, red. When this creature attacks, the first spell card in your graveyard without buried gains flashback and buried. Why both? XX is that, or X is that card's base mana cost. Pretty typical for anything we give those effects to that don't already have them. At the beginning of your turn, if you rated, create up to 3 graveyard gems. I think they're trying to make up for how bad Buried's mechanic was in Ikoria. It just didn't work. I was really hoping for some effects that would make it work really, really well, and it just didn't work for me. So there's a couple of new cards that I see here that are actually pretty exciting. I hope they work out, because I really would like to use the Buried effects in Animator decks and Reanimator decks and see what happens from there, but we will see. Bazris's Lieutenant. It's 14 for a white creature that's 5/6 with vigilance. Human Knight. At the beginning of each player's turn, if your opponent controls a multicolored creature, this creature gains protection from that creature's colors until end of turn. That would be cool if it was cool. When this creature enters the battlefield, target creatures you control get +2/+2. When a creature you control dies or loses a reinforcement, if that creature was buffed, create a Knight token, which I'm assuming is going to be a 2/2 with vigilance. Okay, so at the beginning of each player's turn, if your opponent controls a multicolored creature, this creature gains protection from that creature's color until end of turn. Now, what protection should be is, if I have protection from blue, I should take no damage from blue. But I found out from somebody today, because I couldn't get this mechanic to work right because I kept having creatures die, I assumed it was protection completely. It's half damage. So if I'm fighting or defending against a creature that does 6 points of damage, I'm only taking 3 points of damage, but it's still affecting this creature. So that's not protection. That's just, I don't know. That protection to me seems impervious to. In this case, it would probably be resistant. Resistance versus protection might be a better word for phrasing that. When this creature enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +2/+2, so it can target itself. When a creature you control dies or loses a reinforcement, if that creature was buffed, create a night token. Too many big words, Charlie. This is 14 for a 5/6 with vigilance and white human knight. It'll achieve some of your bonuses. It might help you achieve some of the bonuses that are there for it, but I don't think that's going to be a very effective deal as we go along here. Burlfist Oak, 10 for a 5/4. That's pretty awesome for a green creature for 10. That's good. Tree Folk. It's a Trent. When you draw a card, this creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This can beef up pretty quick. If you have this with Song of Creation, you wind up drawing multiple cards. If you draw 4 cards, let's say, at least, you're getting +8/+8. So that makes this a 14 or 13, 12 basically with trample. This is neat. I think this is a solid good card. I like this one. I think this will be good for newer players, and there's lots of draw effects inside of the meta right now that are pretty good. In Ikoria, you have the cycling card that you pay 9 and you draw 4 cards. That would work really well with this. So that's an additional 2, 4, 6, 8. That's an additional 8. So that would achieve that for you. Of course, Song is the best card, but not everybody's going to have that. I think this is a solid little for 10 for a 5/4 for a creature that bumps and it will hit your opponent. I think this is a solid, good, rare card for 5/4 and 10 mana. Nice. Chandra's Incinerator, 20 mana, too high, right? Trample 8/8 red creature. It's not flying. It's on the floor. He's walking. You see him on the floor. When you deal non-combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, if this card is in your hand, reduce its cost by X until end of turn. X is the damage dealt that way. When you deal non-combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, deal X to target opposing creature. Okay, let's do this again. When you deal non-combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, if this card is in your hand, reduce its cost by X until end of turn. When X is the damage dealt that way. Okay, so you have repeated reverberation, right? It's charged up. You have Embercleave, or not Embercleave, but Electro Dominance in your hand, so it's charged up to its full 10 stored mana. You're doing 10 points of damage to your opponent. This should cost 10 less, so that means it only costs 10. But you used repeated reverberation, so you cast that twice to your opponent. That's 20 damage. You're casting this for free, right? It's a trick. That's a 4-card. Well, that's a 3-card combo basically to make that happen. Now, when you deal non-combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, deal X damage to target opposing creature. So if there's a creature on the board and you do this, and he's on the board, right? You're able to whatever damage you do directly to your opponent also hits a target creature. So that's pretty neat. I think this is a good card. I think it's going to be broken. I think there's some cycle stuff, especially some for an 8/8 body. It doesn't have haste or anything else. This artwork is garbage. No offense, whoever drew this, but that's really weak. It's pretty bad. But I think this card has some potential. I think this can combo. So yeah, I'd like to see what it does. I'm excited to play it. Conclave Mentor, 8 mana for a 3/5 white-green creature. Okay, creature centaur cleric, half horse, half man, half cleric. When a creature you control is buffed, if it was not buffed by this creature, that creature gets +1/+1. When this creature dies, gain X life. X is this creature's power. At least it's not till end of turn, so it's a permanent buff that winds up happening. Okay, when this creature dies, gain X life. X is this creature's power. Meh, okay. 8 for a 3/5, it's got a pretty big booty. You put some defense on it, some type of Embercleave or something like that. Maybe it sticks around for a little bit, or you put a high alert on the board. This could help you get through some troubling times. I wouldn't go craft this. I think it'd be something I'd master and probably never play again. Or if it's something, because there's not cleric or centaur objectives as of yet, so maybe gain life objectives. I don't know. I don't think it's very good. Conspicuous Snoop, 9 for a 4/4 creature. That's pretty good, man. 9 mana for a 4/4 is pretty good. It's red. He's a goblin rogue. At the beginning of your turn, fetch the first goblin card from your library. Okay, so you're filling your hand. You're just getting every beginning of the turn. You're fetching a goblin, right? At the beginning of the combat on your turn, if the last card in your hand is a goblin card, exile this creature. So he's on the board, you exile him. Then create a copy of the last goblin creature card in your hand. Don't exile it, you don't remove it, you just copy whatever the last creature is in your hand. It goes onto the battlefield under your control. That copy gains haste and enchanted, right? At the end of your turn, exile this copy and move the so at the end of your turn, exile this copy. This is what it says on there for the enchanted. That copy of whatever creature you have, it's got to be a goblin, right? Yeah, it's a goblin, so it's got to be a goblin. That goblin's on the board, it does its thing, it's exiled, and then you bring this creature back, and you just do that over and over and over again each turn, okay? At the end of your turn, exile this copy and move the first card named Conspicuous Snoop from your exile to the battlefield under your control. Why is this good? Well, I'll show you. So why Conspicuous is good is because of Goblin Goliath. He's a masterpiece. He's got haste. He's cost 19, which isn't bad for an 8/7 red. He's a mutant, but he is a goblin. When this creature enters the battlefield, right, create X goblin tokens. X is your red mana bonus. If you're playing this with Luca or Koth with +9, you're getting 4 to 9 goblin tokens on the board. Activate 2/2 red. Your other creatures gain double strike until end of turn, then create 2 goblin tokens. So yeah, in this case, that's that's not going to happen when it's on the board because he's going to be gone. So this will never trigger. But every time he hits the board, because of that copy token deal, you wind up putting yourself in a position where this guy's hitting the board every single turn, creating 4 to 9 goblin tokens, and you're spending 9 mana for it to get this guy on the board to make it happen. Pretty solid. This is a firm yes. I can't wait to play with this guy. Okay, Containment Priest. She cost 8 for a 4/4. Pretty low cost for a bigger creature. She's got flash. She's a creature human cleric. She's white. When non-token creatures when a non-token creature enters the battlefield, if it didn't enter the battlefield from any hand or graveyard, and if it's not being reinforced, exile instead, then draw a card. So when a non-token creature enters the battlefield, if it didn't enter the battlefield from any hand or graveyard, and if it's not being reinforced, exile it instead, then draw a card. So that's fetched and put on the battlefield? Yeah, so the only places it can hit the board is if it's being cast or it's coming from the graveyard. If it's being fetched from your graveyard or if it's being fetched from your library and put into play, this could be something that stops a lot of powerful cycle decks. Maybe they're anticipating, or combo decks, maybe they're anticipating something that's coming that's not necessarily here yet, or that's coming with this set. We'll see. I'm not sold on this yet. I have to see some more of the other cards and kind of see how the meta shapes out. Maybe there's some cards that will break this. I don't think direct from, where this would be a real pain in the tail would be against Hazardous and or Deploy the Gatewatch. This would be a Deploy the Gatewatch frenemy. This would just stop it, and anything you would fetch and go just throw directly onto the board would be very upsetting with this. So yeah, okay, cool. I'd like to see how that works out. Curse of Fool's Wisdom, 13 for a support with 2 shields on it. It's black. Support card, Enchantment Curse. It's got Madness too, so if you get discard cards, then you bring it down by 2. When your opponent draws a card, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This could have some play in some opponent draw cards. I know there's 2 or 3 different cards I've seen so far that have effects based on your opponent drawing cards. This is going to add to it. I wonder if you could get some, opponent draw tribal that might do something against it. It'd be interesting to see. When your opponent activates a loyalty ability, your opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. When your opponent activates a loyalty ability, your opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Yeah, 2-3 times loyalty abilities get activated, except unless it's like Nissa. So I don't think that's going to play too much. You get net 6 life. Okay, or a 12 life swing between them losing and you gaining. So, meh. I don't know that I'd play this. I'd master it. We'll go from there. Dark Hatchling, 17 for a 5/5 critter with flying, black. It's a horror. When this creature enters the battlefield, destroy target creature your opponent controls. Then this creature gets +1/+1 and gains all of the creature's basic evergreen abilities. That's kind of neat. When this creature enters the battlefield, destroy target creature. So it's a removal spell. That stays with a 5/5 flying. Plus, it gets all the basic evergreen abilities of that target creature, except for hexproof, right? Because you can't target it. Okay, that could be some fun. That would be good if you've got when this creature enters the battlefield. So you could reanimate this card, and it could hit the board without casting it. So you basically have a free elimination spell as soon as it hits. Yeah. Interesting. I wonder if in reinforcing it triggers the enters battlefield effects. We'll have to see. Okay, Demonic Embrace. So this is a Devil Hug. It's a 9. It's a spell. It costs 9. It's black, and you can cast it from your graveyard for 13. So spell card aura. Target creature you control gets +6/+3 and gains flying. Then it gains the demon subtype. So there's no downside here. Target creature you control gets +6/+3, just gets bigger, and gains flying. Then it gains the demon subtype. At the beginning of your turn, if this card is in your graveyard, you may lose 13 life. Oh, I guess that's what that is. And discard the last card in your hand. If you do, this card gains full mana. Okay, 13 life is a significant enough chunk, but early game it shouldn't be that bad. I just wish it would do one other thing, some other thing. Maybe the demon subtype matters with some of the other support stuff that we're gonna see, but I'm not seeing it here. Interesting. Okay, it's more of an uncommon level in my mind. Dire Fleet Warmonger. It costs 11. It's a 5/5 black-red creature. I love that we're getting back into the Ixalan kind of stuff. Creature Orc Pirate. At the beginning of the combat on your turn, it shouldn't just be at the beginning of combat on your turn, you can destroy target creature you control. Okay. When a creature you control dies or loses a reinforcement, this creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Look, I'm permanently killing my creature, so shouldn't this get a permanent 2/2 from that? That's ridiculous. Yeah, that's dumb. This is a dumb card. 11 for a 5/5, that's cool, but I'm not going to activate that ability. Unless, okay, one of the deck builds that I love is what's called a snag and sack. So what I do is I'll steal their creatures and then I'll sacrifice them. This would allow me to do that in that deck. So I would probably build something around that. So we initiate combat, I kill their creature. This becomes the sacrifice. This becomes a sacrifice engine for that, and I just fill my hand with snag cards. So this could work for Angrith. With his second ability to go grab those, but at the end of you wouldn't need to do that with his second ability though, because that creature gets killed anyway. So I have to fiddle around with this. I might build a snag and sack deck. He could be one of the engines from that. So okay, interesting. Enthralling Hold. There's a D in there. It's 10. It's a blue spell, so it's an aura. If you control 2 or less creatures, gain control of target opposing disabled creature. I don't like these. I don't like when they're set up this way. I have to disable their creature in order for it to qualify, and then I have to have 2 or less creatures on my side of the board. One or the other, not both, because it's already limited with creatures that I have on my side as it is. I'm only able to take so many creatures. We only have 3 creature slots on our side. I think this is a dumb card. It requires too much to make work. You got to put it to fit. You got to get it to fit the exact right puzzle piece. I just don't like it. I don't mind the cost, but you got to make a decision: either 2 or less creatures or disabled, one of the two, but not both. That's a no for me. This card sucks. Experimental Overload. I love the picture on this. 12 casting cost, red blue spell card, so is it. Create a weird token. Then pick one of the last 4 spell cards from your graveyard. Fetch that card. It gains 6 mana. I don't know what weird is 100%. Somebody explained it earlier today, but I didn't catch it 100%. I believe it has to do with how many spells and sorceries, how many spell cards you have in your graveyard. So, and then something happens as a result with it. Pick one of the last 4 spell cards from your graveyard. Fetch that card. It gains 6 mana. So you get the weird token. That's got to do something all on its own. It costs 12 to retrieve something that costs, and then give it 6 mana. Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. This one I have a question mark next to because I got to understand what the weird token does. We'll see. Feline Sovereign. This is an awesome painting. 12 for a 4/5 green cat, not white, green. Interesting. It's got bravery. Creature cat. While on the battlefield, your cat creatures get +2/+2. So he gets +2/+2. It doesn't say other creatures. It says your cat creatures, all of them. This one included. So he's actually a 6/7 when he's on the board for 12. That's pretty good. When this creature attacks, your cat creatures gain protection from red and protection from white until end of turn. Then destroy an opposing artifact or enchantment support. I don't know that there's a lot of green cats. Comment below and let me know if you think there are, or if there are, which ones there are in standard right now. When this creature attacks, your cat creatures gain protection from red and protection from white until end of turn. Then destroy an opposing artifact or enchantment support. Okay, so it does double duty. I think this is good, but I really wish this was actually white. White would have benefited from this creature more than green would. Green has so many different beasties that are more powerful and effective than this. Quartzwood Crasher. I mean, you have to look at the meta right now and say which cards are going to be around for a while and which ones are worth pursuing. Quartzwood Crasher pretty much devastates every other card that's on the board right now. Yeah, this one's okay. I wish it was white. It doesn't need to be green. Yeah, interesting. Fierce Empath. It's fierce. He's an 11 casting cost for a 4/4 green creature. He's an elf. When this creature, that doesn't look like an elf, looks like a tree folk. When this creature enters the battlefield, pick one of the first 4 creature cards with base cost 18 or more from your library. Fetch that card. It gains 9 mana. That's really cool. Ferocious, this creature gets +2/+2. So when you have a creature on the board that's 5 or more, this guy becomes a 6/6 for 11. This is actually a really decent card. The fact that it allows you to go fetch cards from your library that are 18 plus, so you can go get something that is 18 plus, and all of a sudden it's just half its mana basically is taken care of for 9 mana. Really powerful. I think this is a nice utility card. I think for early beginner to medium sized players, this will be a really go-to clutch card to have in your green deck. So really cool. I think it's really good. I like it. First Sphere, Gargantua. 20. The Gargantuan is the cost. 7/6 black. It's a creature horror. You can, if it's in your graveyard, you can spend 12 life, I think, to bring it back. I think that's how that works. When this creature enters the battlefield, create up to 3 graveyard gems. Okay. Then you draw a card, and your opponent loses 5 life. Okay, I like it. If this card was cast from your graveyard, it gains haste. Then exile it at the end of your turn. I hate that. That is so dumb. When this creature loses a reinforcement, dies, or is exiled, your opponent discards the last card without mana from their hand. Then you gain 5 life. Wow, that's lame, man. So you literally took the only advantage you had with this card to put into play from the graveyard. Use some reanimator stuff. We're taking extra spells. It's not like we have 60 card decks. We have 10 card decks. Every card has to fight for that position. So it's not like we're throwing reanimator cards in our deck willy-nilly and we have other win cons. Our win con is bringing stuff back from the graveyard in a reanimator deck. That's just bad. That's lame, man. Yeah, not a fan of that. That sucks. All right, followed footsteps, targeted creature, or target creature you control gains enchanted. At the beginning of your turn, reinforce this creature. Yeah, that could be bonkers. This might, I don't know about with blue, I don't know how many blue creatures there are in there, but definitely with green or any other color sources. There's so many tricolor walkers. I think this will be good. It's a little expensive. I'd like to see it like 10 or lower, but at 12 it's still doable. You're talking about an average of 2 swaps basically, or lower with +3 mana conversion. So yeah, or with mana bonuses, I should say. At the beginning of your turn, reinforce this creature. That's neat. So every turn that creature is getting bigger and bigger. Pretty powerful. All right, so this is Gadrock the Crown Scourge for 9 for a 4/4 flying historic or legendary creature. Red. He's a dragon. He looks funny. This creature can't attack unless you control 4 or more artifact supports. Okay. At the end of your turn, create a treasure token. I'm assuming those counts as at artifact tokens. Ferocious, create 2 treasure tokens instead. Then this creature gets +1/+1. So if you have another creature on the board that's 5, you're creating those 2 tokens. So you get them on the board pretty quickly, and then you've got 2 turns, maybe 4. And then he starts to come out. He's able to attack from there. If he were bigger, maybe. Okay. Yeah, I think he's going to do a lot of sitting on the board and not doing too much. I think 4 is too many. Maybe 2 supports would probably be better for a 4/4 creature. I mean, you're essentially effectively taking what normally, so if it's 2, let's say it's 2 turns before he can start to attack, you could have collectively gotten a 5/5 or a 6/6 or a 7/7 creature on the board. Well, and then he gets a +1/+1 though, so I don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll see. That'll be interesting. I do like it. I have to play with it and see. It might get in bonkers, really quickly, especially if we have multiples on the board. But we'll see. Garruk's Uprising. It's a support for 10, green, 4 shields, support card enchantment. While on the board, this creature gains your creatures gain trample. Okay. That's good with Quartzwood Crasher. When a creature with base power 5 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card, then that creature gets +1/+1. Okay. Ferocious. When this support enters the board, draw a card. Alright, so it's a card draw engine. I I don't see that it's any better than, for sure, like Song of Creation or anything like that, but it is a rare. Okay. Trample's about the only thing it does, and it gives your creature a one-time 1/1 buff. So, alright. Ghostly Pilferer. It's a creature for 10, 4/3, Spirit Rogue Blue. At the beginning of your turn, you may discard the last creature card from your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. Okay. When your opponent casts a card from their graveyard, copy that card. It gains full mana. Awesome, but I don't see Greg doing a lot of casting from his graveyard. When you discard a card from your hand, this creature gets +3/+0 and gains unblockable until end of turn. So that's kind of neat. At the beginning of your turn, you may discard the last creature card from your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. So if you have a creature card in your hand you don't want, you discard it. When you discard that card, this gets +3, so it becomes a 7/3 and it's unblockable until end of turn. That's pretty neat for 10. So basically you're talking about, as long as you get a creature in hand to ditch, you're talking about a 7/3 that's unblockable. Plus, if for some reason your Greg casts or the AI casts something from the graveyard, you're getting a full copy of that. That's kind of neat. So I think that's a decent card. I wouldn't build around it, but it's pretty fun because we can't really control what our opponents are doing or what cards they're playing or how they're playing those cards. It's not. Yeah, it'd be neater if it was. This is more of a sideboard card against somebody you'd specifically be wanting to play against. But the other 2 abilities are decent. Hooded Blightfang for 12. It's a creature, 3/6, black with Death Touch. It's a snake. When a creature with Death Touch you control attacks, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. When a creature you control with Death Touch deals damage to your opponent's Planeswalker, destroy an opposing Vanguard support. Nobody plays Vanguards really. They might play 1 or 2, but it's not anything that's going to really blow you out of the way. Maybe beginning to medium level players are playing more Vanguards than higher level guys. I just don't see a lot of Vanguards being played. They're not that annoying. Plus, this wouldn't replace. I mean, you'd have to build a whole deck around this to replace 1 Ruinous Ultimatum. So, yeah, okay. All right. I don't think this is a very good card. Idol of Endurance. It's a support for 10, white, 4 shields. It's an artifact. When the support enters the board, exile all creature cards from your graveyard that cost 10 or less. Okay, sounds like you got to build around this. When the support is exiled or destroyed, move all those cards that cost 10 or less from your exile to your graveyard. Okay. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 2 or less creatures, you may drain 7 mana from your hand. If you do, move the first creature card that costs 10 or less from exile to the battlefield under your control. So the trick to this card that I'm seeing is at the beginning, you basically play 2 creatures that are 10 or less in casting cost. That way, when they're removed from exile, at the beginning of your combat, you control yes, 7 mana from your hand. If you do, move the first creature exile battlefield. When the support's exiled, destroy, move all creatures. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you control 2 or less creatures, you may drain 7 mana from your hand. If you do, move the first creature. Or you could play 3 creatures with Mutate, and then you just mutate those 2 cards that are on the board. And that way, every beginning of the turn, you're basically getting a free card. So, long story short, you don't want to have 3 creatures on the board at any given time. You want to take one of your Mutate creatures, not have it hit the board, and then have a bunch of other creatures that are 10 or less that are in your graveyard somehow, and then they get exiled. That's a lot, man. That's a lot of dancing to try to cheat out some cards as a result of this. I just struggle to see where this is going to be effective enough to impact games faster than if you were just to cast them. There's a lot of trickery on how to get cards out, but they're just putting roadblocks in to cheating cards out when it's just more effective just to go landfall and just cast them from hand. So I'm not confident this is a strong card or a good card. I'd have to play with it a bit. It's kind of in the unknown zone. Maybe I wouldn't go out and craft it, but if I got it, or I wouldn't use booster crafting to get it, or I wouldn't chase it. But if I got it, I probably wouldn't even put it in a deck unless I was just mastering cards. So there it is. Indrik Umbra. 18. That's expensive for a spell. White green. It's an aura. Target creature you control gets +6/+6. That's why. Gains Berserker and First Strike. Then that creature gains Enchanted. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control with its reinforcements. Then it loses all its buffs and enchanted effects. So it loses the +6/+6. It loses the enchanted portion, and it just becomes whatever it was beforehand. Okay. 18 though, man, that's expensive. 12 maybe would be good. 14 even pushing it, but 18, that's a lot, man. You should die return to the battlefield under your control. The only thing I could see that it would work with would be inside of the Nissa Worldwaker build that is all enchantments and auras with Iliad of Blossoms. Maybe this would work with it because I would buff it up and make it bigger. So I don't know. Maybe that's something I could throw in there. I have to experiment with it. I'm gonna say it's middle of the road just yet, just because of that casting cost, man. It's cool though. I dig it. But you're gonna kill your creature with Berserk. But it has first strike, so I don't know. Yeah, I think I like it. I changed my mind. I talked myself into it. I think I do like it. If it came, would I build it into a deck though? Would it take a spot? I don't know. I'd have to test it out and see though. 18. 18. That's expensive. Indulging Patricia. This is an awesome picture. I love this painting. This is so good. 10 for this creature. 3/6 with lifelink and flying. That's good. White, black, Vampire Noble. Renewal 6. At the end of your turn, your opponent loses 6 life. So the way renewal works is if you gained 6 life this turn, then at the end of your turn, your opponent loses 6 life. So that means if you have two of these, one creature of these stacked, two of these creatures stacked on top of each other, or you mutate this creature, double it up, you basically reinforce this, it'll go do the damage as long as it's hitting your opponent, obviously. And then they lose an additional 6 life. I think this is good. I actually like this. I think this is a really good card. Renewal 6 is up there, but I think you can gain 6 life in a turn. Yeah, and plus this with the card, the Veto, Uncle Veto card that's a mythic. Every time you gain life, they take damage. This is going to stack with that. This is going to be interesting in that build. I'd like to play with it. I think this would be good, and I love that painting. I think that's fantastic. Ink Fathom Witch. Got to get some merfolk, baby. Bringing it back. I love that this picture looks old school. Original, like unlimited beta kind of artwork. It's pretty awesome. It's 8 for a creature. It's 3/3 with menace, blue black, merfolk wizard. It better be powerful because I haven't seen anything that makes this worth playing. Activate 3 black or blue. This base power and toughness of each non-token creature you control with menace becomes +4/+1 until end of turn. Alright, so the base power and toughness of each non-token creature you control with menace becomes +4 or 4 attack, 1 defense until end of turn. That's dumb. That means this creature with menace becomes a 4/1. Unless you've got a mountain of 1/1 weenies that are on the board with menace. And I don't know that there's a lot of stuff that's giving menace. Maybe there's some supports or some vanguards that are giving menace to your creatures. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go test that out. I have to go test it. This painting. I always feel when I see paintings like this face, like if you cover up her face, the body is like a monk, kung fu style martial artist, and they just use their own face to do the painting. It's just, it's funny. Kinetic Augur, 11 for a 1/1 creature. You better be awesome with trample. Ooh, a 1/1 with trample. Nice. It's a human shaman. Red. When you cast this card, you may discard the last 2 cards from your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. All right. So it's a fueling the graveyard engine. When this creature enters the battlefield, it gets X. It gets +X/+X. X is the number of spell cards in your graveyard. Okay, so when this creature enters the battlefield, that's when it gets the pump. So what happens when you reinforce it? Does it add the pumped on top of that, or does it reassess and say that's where it is, +1/1? I'd be interested to see. I don't like cards like this because they're really dependent on so much other things. I like cards to be 1 or 2 combos. Again, we only have 10 cards in our deck, so they've got to go off with 2, max 3 cards. But if we're really playing a longer game strategy, like this is a late game card, I don't know. I don't know it's not interesting to me. I'm sure somebody will figure out a way to break it. Maybe I'll figure out a way to break it, but it's not really something that I'm excited about. Core Spirit Dancer. I don't see no poll. 8. It's terrible. Forget. Erase. Creature for 8, 2/6, core wizard, heroic. This creature gets +3/+3. When you cast an aura card, draw a card. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really impressed with that. I think that's kind of lame. Depends on the impact of heroic and how often it happens. Does she impact herself? Then she'd become a 6/9 for the first turn, but she doesn't have haste by default. So what good does that do you? Yeah. All right. No, I don't think that's very good. Leafkin Avenger, 12 for a 6/5 critter. That's pretty big. Red and green elemental druid creature. Activate 3 green. Convert 1 gems to green for each creature you control with base power 5 or more. Okay. When you convert 3 or more gems to green, deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker. X is this creature's power. Okay. Okay. Um, Maybe I think that's 12 for a 6/5 is pretty decent anyway. So the rest of its abilities are kind of just bonuses. So again, I wouldn't go craft this or try to seek it out to get it. But if I got it and I'm a newer medium-sized player, this could be annoying. This could be a pain in the tail. So, all right, cool. Mid-level card. Liliana Standard Bearer. I love this. 12 creature for a 5/3 with Defender and Flash. It's a zombie knight. Morbid. When this creature enters the battlefield, draw a card. It gains X mana. X is equal to the toughness of the first creature card in your graveyard. Okay. So when a creature dies, that's typically when that impact, during that turn, that's when it happens. So when this creature enters a battlefield, draw a card. This one is worded different, so it makes me think that the mechanic might work a little differently. When this creature enters the battlefield, draw a card. It gains X mana. X is equal to the toughness of the first creature card in your graveyard. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's a nice little engine for black, which doesn't usually have many that don't cost you life. Yeah, I dig this. Yeah, I'm gonna like it because I think that's gonna be something we can play with that can be busted. Especially if we're doing something that's re-exiling it and bringing it back to the battlefield because it's an enter the battlefield kind of effect. So yeah, I dig that. I think that's going to be interesting. Lore scale Quaddle. Quaddle? 11 for a 4/4 blue-green snake creature. Resourceful, so when you draw more cards, this creature gets +1/+1. They're permanent ones. So in your case, if you draw 3 cards, up to 3 cards per turn, you're making this bigger. That's good. That's going to get powerful. As long as you have 4 or more cards in your hand, this creature gains hexproof. That's really good. This is a really good card. This is going to be a mid-tier card that's going to do real well for beginners. It'll help keep them in games. It's got just enough hex or hexproof, so it's avoiding elimination spells that are at least targeting spells that would get rid of it, and it can grow really, really quickly. So this is a great card to throw in a deck that has lots of draw in it, lots of effects that draw. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that's a really good, solid card. Mass Diminish. This one's very interesting. It's a 7 casting spell blue. Base power and toughness of each opposing creature becomes 1/1 until the beginning of your next turn. So I can cast this, and then I have something that does board wipe, or actually, what would be good is Connive Concoct. So what I could do is I cast this. It's 2 cards, basically. They reduce their power. I snatch them with Connive. I just take it for 7 mana. So for 14 mana, I've grabbed their biggest, most powerful creature, right? Whatever it is. As long as they're targetable, that would work with it. So it's a neat little combo. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that can play here. You do this Mass Diminish before you cast or bring out the Worm creature. That's a mythic that does -4/-4 to all of your opponent's creatures. So yeah, as long as they're not reinforced more than 4 times, or 3 times rather, then this would be something that works along with it. Yeah, I think there's potential here. I kind of like this. I'd like to see what I can do with it. I know there's some combos here. It's just cheeky enough that we can do something with it, and it comes out of the graveyard too. I can spend 12 life and cast it from the graveyard if I want to do that. I wonder if it gives you the option to do that at the end of every turn. Not sure. And I don't know what that icon means. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see what Mass Diminish does. Necromentia. 6 casting spell. It's black. Your opponent discards a card, then your opponent discards each other card of their hand that has the same base cost as the discarded card. So if I throw a 6 casting cost mana and I have 3 others in my hand, I ditch all 3 of them. or 4 of them. Then create a zombie token under your opponent's control for each card discarded this way. I'm assuming it's a 2/2 zombie. Yeah, I don't like that. There's easier ways to discard cards from your opponent's hand that doesn't beef them up on the board. You're essentially saying, hey, let me help you rid your hand to give you a better board presence. And unless you got something maybe like a ley line that defends against tokens, maybe, but I don't think we want to reward them for taking cards out of hands. I think there's better ways of doing that. So yeah, I don't think that's very good. I have to test it though to be sure. Obsessive Stitcher. I really like this card. It's a 10 casting cost creature for a 2/5 creature human wizard. As long as you have 3 or more different creature cards in your graveyard that are not named Obsessive Stitcher, this creature gains Berserker. Alright? Why would I want to give it Berserker? Well, because you have Activate. We'll get to that in a bit. But when this creature dies, pick one of the first 4 creature cards from your graveyard, return it to the battlefield under your control. So it's a Reanimator card. Activate 2 black or blue, discard a card, then draw 2 cards. So this allows you to be able to get creature cards into your graveyard very quickly with just its activated ability. And then once it has 3 or more cards in the graveyard, this gal gains Berserker, and she's going to start attacking over there, trying to basically off herself. Cool, because when she goes, she brings back something that's pretty powerful. I like this. And you get to pick one of the first 4 creature cards from your graveyard, return it to the battlefield under your control. So it's not like the first, like, oh, if she's in there as well, you can pick one of the other 3 creature cards. Pick one of the first 4 creature cards. Not different, just the first 4 creature cards. So if you got 2 of her in the graveyard, then you're only really picking from 2 other cards. But I really like her. I love Reanimator strategy, so she's going to go into that build when I put it together. Oron Frostfang. 14 for a 4/8 green creature. It's a snow snake. When a creature you control attacks, that creature gets +2/+0 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. So this matches with that other card we were talking about beforehand with Death Touch. Or actually, that was Menace. When a creature you control deals combat damage, draw a card. All right. Again, I'm not into... It's a utility card. It's good at the mid to low level or early beginner players. I'm sure this will really help to keep a good little engine to help keep your hand full. And it helps beef up your attack. It can get out of control pretty quickly for your opponent if you're left unchecked on the board. So good, decent for mid to low level cards. Pack Leader. Well, here come the doggos. 10 for 4/4. That's actually really good. Bravery. Dog, white creature. While on the battlefield, your dog creatures get +2/+2. So he's a 6/6 for 10. That's dope, dude. This is a good little card. When this creature attacks, your dog creatures get +2/+0 and gain first strike until end of turn. Bro, he's an 8/6 for nothing with first strike for 10. This is a solid creature, man. Yeah, he's going into the dog build. He's probably the best dog I've seen so far. The other ones create a lot of dogs, but he's the one that actually beefs them up. What happened to leader? Whatever happened to the leader function? I'd like to see a leader ability again. That was a lot of fun, especially for dogs, like a dog leader, like a pile of pups. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I kind of dig this. I think this is kind of neat. So basically, he attacks for 4, 6, 8, 8, and then 6 with first strike. Yeah, that's a good card. That's a good solid card right there. Predatory Urge, 10 spell green aura. Target creature you control gains enchanted. When your opponent activates a loyalty ability, this creature fights the first opposing creature. Okay, so you want something that's impervious to damage. Maybe the goblin that doesn't take any damage. He's damage resistant, whatever it is. Yeah, okay, it's all right. Primal Might, 4 green, and it's got 10 stored mana. Your first creature gets +X until end of turn, then that creature fights target opposing creature, X is this card's stored mana. That's kind of neat. I wish it did just like one more thing. Maybe whatever trample damage that was done to the first creature that succeeds what it does goes on to the planeswalker, to your opponent. That would be great. That would make this card really good. But you're spending fair mana here, 14 for a temporary buff. It's till the end of turn, and then the fight mechanic. You got to kill something for less than 10, right? Like, so if their power is greater than 10, and then this effect wears off, your creature is actually going to take damage from it. So yeah, I don't know. I'd have to play with it to see if it's going to be worthwhile. Pursued Whale. It's Moby Dick. 21. It's a 10/10. That's expensive for a 10/10. It's a big creature, the blue whale. When this creature enters the battlefield, create a red pirate token under your opponent's control. So they get a pirate. It's probably going to be like a 2/2 or a 1/1 or something. While in the battlefield, your opponent's spells cost 4 more to cast. That's pretty powerful. I wouldn't pay 21 for it though. You cheat it out, bounce it, do something to create it on the board. While on the battlefield, your opponent's spells cost 4 more to cast. That's significant. It can make an impact. I'm gonna have to test it though. Rewind. This is old school right here. 14 mana for a blue spell card. It's just a spell card, nothing else. Drain all mana from the first card in your opponent's hand. Then the first card in your hand gains X mana. X is the amount of mana drained this way. It's too expensive. 14. I got to spend 14 and hope that they've got that card almost maxed out in order for it to justify my next card to have it be free. So it could, if I could cast this card for free, that would be something else. But what if they don't? Yeah, it's dependent on your opponent. You can only use it in situations. Yeah, it's not a good card. Drain all the mana from the first card in your opponent's hand, then the first card in your hand gains X mana. X is the amount of mana drained. I would rather see this be a 4 and 10, so that it's 4 stored mana, or I'm sorry, 4 to cast with 10 stored mana. Then you get the 10 stored mana, similar to Electro Dominance, and then just give you 10 mana instead of whatever's on the other side of the board. That way you have some control over it. Then that makes it playable. Not like this. Not like this. No, not a good card. I can see Ruined Halo. 9 for support. That's a very awkward looking lady right there. 2 shield, support card, enchantment. At the beginning of each player's turn, your creatures gain protection from the first opposing creature's colors until end of turn, so it halves the damage if they do any damage with it. Okay, all right, and then I think they're impervious to any spells that would be cast by of those same colors, so I'm not 100% certain. We'll have to double check on that. Alright, Scavenging Ooze. It's 10 creature for 5/5. It's really good for green creature. Activate 4 green, exile the first creature card from your opponent's graveyard, then this creature gets +1/+1 and you gain 2 life. This is a good card. This is a really solid card. For 10 mana, you get a 5/5 plus it can pump. Every turn, you're getting 4 opportunities to match those gems. You know you're going green anyways, so if this would fit into some type of green deck or green blue deck, and then you plus your gaining life, this is a really solid card. Really good. Nice functional mid-level playable card. So if you've got your medium, mid to collection, this card right here can actually help you go do some stuff. I think this is really powerful. Selesnya, Eulogist. 11 for a 5/5 creature. Okay, green, Centaur Druid. Activate 3 green, exile the first creature card from your opponent's graveyard, then populate. So you get a token. If that card has buried, this creature gets +2/+2. Okay, let's do this again. Exile the first creature card from your opponent's graveyard, then populate. If that card has buried, I'm assuming that you exile, not the ones that you're populating on, because that's a token. This creature gets +2/+2. Alright, so you're reinforcing a token, and if that creature has buried, then do you get to exile the first creature? No, you don't get to choose, so it's just whatever creature's in there. Okay, alright. Yeah, I don't know that this is a very specific card you're playing against, and I just don't think a lot of people are playing buried. Maybe with Broodmoth Machine Gun, the deck I broke. Maybe we'll see. But it wouldn't matter because it doesn't impact anything at all. Anyways, so no, I don't. For 11 5/5 green creature, that's about all that it is. It doesn't do anything special. No, I'm not a fan of that. Shacklegeist, 8 for a 4/4 flying creature. That's pretty good. Blue, it cannot block. At the beginning of the combat on your opponent's turn, if you control 2 or more spirit creatures, disable the first opposed enabled creature until end of turn. That's cool. So if you have 2 spirit creatures, not reinforced, it's got to be 2 separate creatures, spirits, for a spirit tribal, I guess. Then their whatever enabled creature they have first on the board on the other side is disabled. Okay. Functional utilitarian, I wouldn't play it. Shipwreck Dowser. We've seen this. This was part of the preview. 12 for a 5/5 creature that can't block. Creature, merfolk, wizard, prowess. This creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So I think that means that when you draw a card, I forget what prowess means. When this creature enters the battlefield, pick one of the first 4 spell cards from your graveyard. Fetch that card, gains half of its mana. So that's cool. For 12, you're basically getting another spell out of your graveyard that gets half of its mana. Kind of neat. Would I play it? Probably not. But decent for a beginner player. This would be a good card in a beginner's deck. Siege Striker, 10 for a human 3/3 double strike. Love double strike. Don't have enough double strike. And Bravery. When this creature attacks, you may disable each other creature you control until end of turn. If you do, this creature gets +X/+X until end of turn. X is the number of other creatures and other creature reinforcements you control. This is boss. Going to break this. This is dope. This is a great card because of that double strike. If he didn't have the double strike, he'd just be, sacrificial lamb, basically. But Siege Striker, for 10 mana, I'm getting, if I have a lot of tokens and I'm using some other reinforcement abilities out there, does it say non-token? Let me read it again. When this creature attacks, you may disable each other creature you control until end of turn. If you do, this creature gets +X/+X until end of turn. X is the number of other creatures and other creature reinforcements you control. It doesn't say non-token, so that works. The only downside to this is there's no trample. So you got to do something to give this trample so that it's wiping out the first creature on your opponent's side of the board, and then it's doing that excess damage to your opponent. Yeah, this is neat. I really like this. Siege Striker's a really solid card, and he only costs 10. That's great. That's really, really good. Solemn Simulacrum. It's a lot of sima. 12 for a 4/4 with Defender. When this creature enters the battlefield, convert 4 gems to loyalty gems. When this creature dies, draw a card. It gains mana equal to the amount of loyalty you have. That's really cool. That's kind of cool. I think this is a neat card. It's utilitarian. It's a nice setup card. It has some defense. You know it's going to get killed because it's got Defender. It's going to block everything. It doesn't have the option. It's trying to die. So you're trying to ramp your loyalty as much as possible with something like this. You pair this with you pair this with a support that gives you loyalty every time you draw a card. I forget the name. You guys type it in for me down below if you would, and timestamp this. And then this ramps it up so that when this dies, you draw a card, and that card gains mana equal to the amount of loyalty you have. Yeah, I like this card. I think this is a really solid card. Song of the Word Soul, 13 for a 3 shield enchantment that's white. When you cast a card, populate this effect, can trigger up to 4 times. That's solid. This is going to be broken. Broken. And token. Yeah, this is going to be really good. I think this might be one of the best cards we've seen so far in Rare. Yeah, this is going to be bonkers. If you have something that has a big token on the board, this can really make that go really, really quickly. Yeah, World Soul. I dig it. Sunken Hope. I like how everybody's just kind of hanging out here, not doing anything. 14 enchantment, blue support card, 2 shield. At the beginning of each player's turn, the first reinforced non-token creature that player controls loses a reinforcement. At the beginning of each player's turn, the first reinforced non-token creature that player controls loses a reinforcement. Then create a copy of that card into their controller's hand. If they can't, return the first non-token creature that player controls to their owner's hand. That return card gains half of its mana. So you would play this against non-token decks. You would have a token deck. They would have non-tokens, and anything they put on the board should eventually be de-enforced or lose a reinforcement, or eventually get put back into their hand. They have to recast it. You know what's crazy? At the beginning of each player's turn, in first reinforcement non-token creature that player controls loses a reinforcement, and create a copy of that card into their controller's hand. If they can't, return the first non-token creature that player controls to their owner's hand. That return card gains half of its mana. This doesn't go away. This isn't like, oh, they broke something, or okay, once they have no other cards, then this disappears. This is in play permanently. They have to destroy this enchantment for them to get that effect. This is a lockdown. I like this. Can we say control? The first time I read this, I thought it was kind of dumb, but okay, just play tokens. If we're playing tokens along with some of the other cards we've already looked at, this becomes a very powerful card. Yeah, I dig it. Teferi's Ageless Insight, 14 for support with 3 shield. It's legendary. It's an enchantment. Blue, when you draw the first card of your turn or another effect makes you draw a card, it gains 3 mana. So you draw a card. When you draw the first card of your turn or another effect makes you draw a card, draw a card. So I draw my first card, I draw a secondary card. Something else makes me draw a card, I draw another card. That card that I draw as a result of the first draw gets 3 mana. Interesting. For 14, though, that's pricey. Prowess, your first creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So you draw a card on their turn. I think it gives some ability to it. This is interesting. I have to mess with it and see. It's a nice draw engine. So, but for 14, that's pricey. But it is giving it mana, so it's a kind of a hybrid thing. Okay, and it's rare, so I'm not expecting mythic. Thieves Guild Enforcer. It's 8 for a 3/3 with flash, human rogue for black. When a rogue creature enters the battlefield under your control, destroy the top 2 cards of your opponent's library. So she counts as a rogue. When this creature gets, so when mill 10 happens, when they have 10 in their graveyard, this creature gets +3/+2 and gains death touch. So she becomes a 6/5 for 8. Okay, you have other rogues, you do some other roguey stuff. Maybe this could be some type of rogue tribal thing that works. Alright. She might be the engine for that too, for milling. So, all right. I'm not a big mill fan. I don't think that effect works really well here because you can run as many different cards as you like. Your decks are unlimited in size, so it's not like real paper magic where you have the threat of running out of a deck. So, yeah, I think mill doesn't really have a place in Puzzle Quest. Transmogrify, 11 casting spell, it's red. Exile target creature. That creature's controller fetches the first creature card from their library and moves it to the battlefield under the control. Why? That's just, you're trading one death for another. You know, let me see the unknown here for something else. Just kill it. This is a dumb card. Exile target creature. That creature's controller fetches the first creature card from their library, moves it to the battlefield under their control. Unless, I didn't think about this, you can do it on your own creature. So you exile your target creature you have on the board. That creature's controller, moi, fetches the first creature card from your library and moves it to the battlefield under your control. Okay, yeah, all right. I'm gonna play with this. I didn't like it at first, but upon second reading, this has potential. So this can help you cheat out some of your bigger stuff, especially if you have. I like using these with planeswalkers that can create tokens at their first ability. So this is pretty good. It's like a Neoform. It's basically a 1-cost more Neoform, except that it's not going for a specific level higher. It's just grabbing any card out of the. I think this is better than Neoform. I like this. Yeah, I like this a lot actually. The more I see it, the more I like it. All right, cool. Twin Blade Assassins, 15 for a creature that's 7/6, that's big. Black and green, Elf Assassin, Morbid, when something dies, at the end of your turn, draw a card. It gains X mana. X is the base mana cost of the last creature card in your graveyard. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, this is really good. You want to throw some big creatures in your graveyard. Nice. Big critters in the yard. Yeah, I really like that a lot. Twin Blade Assassins is going to be powerful. Ooh, and it's 7/6 in a Reanimator deck. He's just going to be beast. Yeah, this guy's good. All right, we're approaching the end here. Volcanic Salvo, 23 for a spell, red. While in your hand, this card costs X less to cast. X is the total power of creatures you control up to 20. So you can cast this for 3 if you've got a board presence. Deal 9 damage to target opposing creature. If you can't, an opposing Vanguard support loses 9 shield. Then repeat this process. Okay, so there's a Fiery Emancipation, I think is what it is. This with Fiery Emancipation. This is going to be bonkers. This is the kind of stuff that when you have critters on the board, the challenge is you want to have. I'm not going to be really playing a lot of creatures in the build that I want to go with, but I definitely like this. I want to experiment with this. This with and it doesn't say non-token cards, right? While this is in your hand, the card costs X less to cast. The total power of creatures you control is up to 20. So it could be tokens. You have what's his name? Quartzwood Crasher, and you have 2 of his tokens on the board. You're already going to win the game. This just helps move things along a lot faster. But with Fiery Emancipation, the casting cost of this 23 is what its base cast cost is. It's going to do that damage to your opponent. This is nuts. That's going to work really, really well in that deck. So yeah, I like this. I think that's going to be fun. Let's see, is that it? Couple more. Warstorm Surge. It's a 14. It's a support for 14. It's red with 4 shields. It's an enchantment. When a token creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to your opponent's planeswalker. This effect can trigger up to 4 times per turn. Oh my gosh, stupid. Quartzwood Crasher. Is there anything Quartzwood Crasher won't just? Quartzwood Crasher is getting all kinds of new toys. When a token creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to your opponent's planeswalker. This effect can trigger up to 4 times per turn. So if you have Quartzwood with Double Strike, you're already going to win, but this thing's on the board somehow. You wind up cheating it out. Um, Man, that's going to be brutal. You have a lot of options. You don't have to use all of them, but this is a nice alternative to Fiery Emancipation as a mythic. Red is just going to be bonkers, man. Red is going to have so many different ways to attack you and do damage to you in Greg's hands. This is going to be brutal. I really like this. I really like this a lot. Watcher of the Spheres. This is Owls of Ga'Hoole, right? 9 for a 4/4 creature, blue-white with flying. Bird, wizard, bird. While on the battlefield, the cost of each creature with flying in your hand is reduced by 2. While on the battlefield, the cost of each creature with flying in your hand is reduced by 2. It also counts for itself, so that means you're getting a 4/4 for 7 for reinforcing this. When a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, this creature gets +1/+1 permanently. This is neat. This is a good little card. If you can get it to combo and stack, it can get out of hand really, really quickly. This might go into some legacy builds if you want to throw some creatures out there that actually get some pump. Yeah, this is kind of cool. Something with like Blue Sun Zenith. This could get out of hand real quick. There you have it, my friend. That's the rare review. There's actually several cards in there. I'm going to be putting out a list that I think are the top 10 of each section. So the top 10 mythics, top 10 masterpieces, top 10, the mythics and masterpieces will be combined together, and top 10 rares. And the next video I'll be going over the uncommons and commons that you should be going after. I won't go over all of them, but I will take out the best that I think are probably start with like a top 10 list there right away. So that said, my friends, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed this, like and comment, share, let me know what's going on here and what cards are you excited to get next week when this set drops. All the best. Let me know what cards you want to break, and I'll see you in the next one. Till our next quest, my friends, swords up, and I'll see you in the next one.